I didn't have anything handed to me. No trust fund, no connections, no safety net. What I had was hunger. And honestly, looking back now, that hunger was the greatest gift I ever received because it forced me to build something that most people never develop. Real discipline. Not the kind you post about on social media, not the kind you feel on a Monday morning after a motivational video. I'm talking about the kind of discipline that shows up at 2 a.m. when you're exhausted, when nobody is watching, when quitting would be the easiest thing in the world. That's the discipline that changed my life, and I want to break it down for you today because I believe anyone can build it. When I was in my early 20s, I was living in Dallas, sharing a tiny apartment with 5 other guys. I was sleeping on the floor. Not a bed, not a couch, the floor. And people would look at that situation and feel sorry for me. But I never felt sorry for myself, not once, because every single morning I woke up on that floor, I reminded myself that this was temporary. That where I was did not determine where I was going, and the only thing standing between me and the life I wanted was the work I was willing to put in. So I worked. I worked harder than anyone around me. I studied harder. I stayed up later. I woke up earlier. Not because someone told me to, but because I made a decision that discipline was going to be my competitive advantage. Here's something I figured out early on that most people never figure out. Everybody wants success, but not everybody is willing to be bored for it. And that's the real secret nobody talks about. Discipline is not exciting. It's not glamorous. It's repetitive, it's uncomfortable, and most days it doesn't feel like it's working. When I was trying to learn software and technology in the early days, I would read manuals for hours. Not because it was fun, it wasn't, but because I understood that every hour I put into learning something was an hour my competition wasn't putting in, and those hours compound. They stack up on top of each other until one day you wake up and you realize you know more than almost everyone in the room. That knowledge becomes power. That power becomes opportunity. But it all starts with sitting down and doing the boring work when you don't feel like it. I remember when I started Micro Solutions, my first real company. I was selling software and technology solutions to businesses, and I had zero experience running a company. Zero. But I made a commitment to myself that I would outlearn every single competitor I had. If a client asked me something I didn't know, I didn't guess, and I didn't fake it. I went home that night and I studied until I had the answer. Then I went back and I delivered. And I did that over and over again until my reputation became someone who always delivered. People don't realize how rare that is. Most people make promises they don't keep. Most people overpromise and underdeliver. My discipline was to do the opposite every single time, without exception. And here's what that discipline did for me. It built trust. And trust in business is everything. When people know you're going to show up, when they know you're going to follow through, when they know you're not going to cut corners, they keep coming back, they send their friends, they give you more business. That's how Micro Solutions grew, not because I had the best product on day one, but because I had the most reliable execution. And execution is just another word for discipline applied consistently over time. But let me be honest with you about something, because I think people need to hear this. There were days I didn't want to do it. There were nights I was so tired I could barely think straight. There were moments where I questioned everything. Am I doing the right thing? Is this going to work? Am I wasting my time? And every single time those thoughts came up, I made a choice. I chose to push through, not because I was fearless, but because I understood that everyone feels that way. The people who win are just the ones who push through it anyway. Discipline isn't about never feeling doubt. It's about acting in spite of doubt. When I sold Micro Solutions and made my first real money, a lot of people around me slowed down. They thought that was the finish line. I never saw it that way. To me, that was just proof that the system worked, proof that the discipline paid off. So instead of relaxing, I doubled down. I started broadcast. Com with Todd Wagner, and we went after the internet before most people even understood what the internet was capable of. And we brought the same discipline to that company that I brought to everything else. We worked around the clock. We answered every customer email personally. We treated every single user like they were the most important person in the world, because in that moment they were. I want to talk about something that I think is one of the most misunderstood parts of discipline, and that's the relationship between discipline and time. Most people treat time like it's something that happens to them. They let their day get pulled in 100 different directions. They say yes to everything. They get distracted constantly, and then they wonder why they're not making progress. I never did that. I treated my time like it was the most valuable asset I had, because it is. It's the one thing you can never get back. So I was ruthless about how I spent it. I said no to things that didn't move me forward. I cut out distractions that didn't serve my goals. I protected my focus like it was a business asset, because that's exactly what it is. And I'll tell you something else about discipline that people don't talk about enough. It changes your identity. When you commit to doing something every single day, no matter what, you start to see yourself differently. You stop being someone who is trying to succeed, and you start being someone who succeeds. That shift in identity is massive, because the way you see yourself determines the actions you take, and the actions you take determine the results you get. When I started seeing myself as someone who outworks everyone, someone who never stops learning, someone who always delivers, my behavior followed. I didn't have to motivate myself every morning. The identity did the work for me. There's a concept I believe in deeply, and it's this: the most dangerous competitor you will ever face is the future version of someone who is more disciplined than you. Think about that. Right now, somewhere out there, there is someone who wants what you want. They have similar skills, similar intelligence, maybe even similar resources. The only difference between where they end up and where you end up is going to come down to who was more disciplined, who put in the hours when it was hard, who stayed consistent when motivation ran out, who kept going when the results weren't showing up yet. That person is out there. And the question you have to ask yourself is, are you going to be more disciplined than them, or are you going to let them beat you? When the Mavericks were struggling, when we weren't winning, when the team culture was broken, I didn't sit back and accept it. I got involved. I studied the game at a level most owners never bother with. I learned what it took to build a winning culture, what players needed, what coaching required, what systems had to be in place. Because I applied the same discipline to owning a basketball team that I applied to running a tech company. The details matter. The work behind the scenes matters. The stuff nobody sees is what creates the results everybody sees. And I want to leave you with this, because I think this is the most important thing I can say. Discipline is not a personality trait. It's not something you either have or you don't. It's a skill. And like every skill, you build it through practice. You start small. You make one commitment and you keep it. Then you make another and you keep that one too. And slowly over time, your capacity for discipline grows. You become someone who does what they say they're going to do. You become someone who doesn't need external motivation because the drive is internal. You become someone who other people look at and wonder, how does that person never stop? I never stopped because I never forgot where I started. I never forgot the floor I slept on. I never forgot what it felt like to have nothing but ambition and a willingness to work. And every single day, no matter how much success came, I woke up with the same mentality I had back then. Hungry, focused, disciplined. That's not a secret formula. It's not a hack. It's just a decision you make every single day, whether you feel like it or not. And if you make that decision long enough, consistently enough, relentlessly enough, I promise you, the results will follow.